Hello, everyone. This is Bill Apter, and I just finished taping an episode of Count It Out with Mike and Tyler, or Tyler and Mike. They're brilliant hosts. You've got to listen. You've got to see. Count It Out. Yeah, I endorse it. They've got the After Chat seal of approval.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Penzer.
The Russian Nightmare, Nikita Koloff.
Rapid Delivery, Rory Fox.
Alexia Nicole.
This is Lenny Leonard.
I'm Ardo Cal.
This is Wildcat Chris Harris, one half of America's Most Wanted.
Hey, this is Jason Sensation.
Diamond Tiger, Kobe Durst.
The hardcore icon, just incredible.
Travis Moore, the Day Tripper.
This is Bill Apter.
This is Mad Dog Connor.
Visionary Von Vertigo.
The voice of Ring of Honor, Ian Riccaboni.
Jonah Williams from the Cincinnati Bengals.
Tyson Dukes, the Wrestling Machine.
This is Nova, the elite athlete.
Carrie Silken, Ring of Honor ambassador.
Former WWF/WWE referee Jimmy Korderas.
This is your boy Stevie Ray.
Nick fucking Gage. Now that's not just the coolest, and that's not just the best. That, my friends, is
Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
People walk around the world and keep your hands to yourself to the point, 'cause you know I won't be listening long.
Well, we are live, pals, and welcome to my favorite episode of the year of the Bill Apter Sealed of Approved Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. It is part one of the year-end show. My name is Tyler, and I am joined, as always, by Mac and Cheese Ball Mike. Mike, we made it. We made it to another year-end show. What's going on, brother?
I like that. Mac Ball Mike.
Mac and Cheese Ball Mike. I want you to get the full credit for your disgustingness.
Listen, you're the one. I thought I'd be waiting. I thought you'd be waiting on me tonight, but I was waiting on you as usual.
Yes,
it's not my fault. You gave me the time to eat 14 mac and cheese balls.
I mean, you can thank Max the dog for that, for pissing on my couch mere seconds before we were about to start recording, putting us back for a half an hour delay while I steam cleaned my carpet and contemplated all the decisions I've made wrong in my life.
As you can tell, we're in a good mood tonight.
It's the year-end show. I'm in a great mood tonight. We got a lot of people joining us over the next 2 weeks. Two-parter. It is your list this week. The top stories of the year. You want to do top stories of the year. Last year I did greatest moments of the year. This year you want to do top stories of the year.
Yeah. Change it up every once in a while. But yeah. And it's, man, this is action packed. Like, yeah. I don't even we do this in two. Last year we did this in 2 weeks. I think this is going to spill over. We've got so much going on.
I'm hoping that this is going to be a two-parter. Who knows? Maybe it'll be a three-parter by the time it's all said and done. But I think we'll keep it to two.
But it's a lot, man. 7 things, but a lot to talk about in these 7 things. I worked really hard on this list. There was a lot to contemplate. I think you and I together came up with 20 different stories alone just for the year. I got it down to 7. You didn't really fight me on my list at all.
I mean, it's your list. I'll fight you at the end of it when we do our honorable mentions on part 2.
There we go.
On top of that, though, you and I are going to be throughout the next 2 weeks giving our votes, our picks for Wrestler of the Year, Tag Team of the Year, Match of the Year, and Pay-Per-View of the Year.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to that first one right after your number 7. And for the number 7, we're going to throw it to friend of the show and veteran WWE referee, the one and only Mr. Jimmy Korderas. In a year where we've gotten the reunions such as Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Friends, perhaps the biggest reunion of the year is our number 7 moment. And we're going to be talking about that in just a second. But we had to bring in a very special guest to do it. He is an absolute legend in the industry of professional wrestling, one of the greatest referees to ever put the stripes on. Canada's own Jimmy Korderas. Jimmy, how are you doing, man?
Tyler, I'm awesome, and I hope I can live up to that billing. I mean, like, oh my goodness, I need you to do my introductions all the
time. There you go. And it's funny when I talk to some of our other colleagues. Oh, I got Jimmy coming on this week, and everybody says the same thing. Jimmy Korderas, Mike Chioda, Tim White, Jack Doan. We miss knowing the referees. So you've definitely left your mark in the industry. You also wrote a hell of a book too. There, 3 Count: My Life in Stripes.
Yeah,
right above your shoulder there. Yeah, it's a great read.
No, thank you. And I have to give credit to 2 people, my wife Audra and also Arda Okal, who pushed me to do it. Sometimes you need a little shove in the right direction, and they did exactly that.
Well, I'm glad that they did, because just hearing the stories that you have in that book are fantastic. You go into detail about some of the good times, some of the hard times. It's well worth it. I'm sure you can get it on Amazon or anywhere like that. Highly recommend picking the book up.
Thank you.
And we're hoping to maybe get some of your stories out of you here today. Number 7 moment of the year on our countdown. This is Mike's list. Mike couldn't join us today for this part of the show, but he's counting down his top 7 biggest moments of the year 2021. Is that where we are? 2021. It's a long year.
Yeah.
And we're going to go all the way back to January for that. And it's going to be the return of Christian at the Royal Rumble, and more specifically, the reunion of Edge and Christian in the Rumble. Now, I want to talk about that moment with you in a second. And before we get deep into that, let me talk to you about maybe just some of your own personal favorite moments of the year. A lot of good stuff, a lot of exciting stuff in the world of professional wrestling this year. You got AEW kicking it up a notch. You've got Impact Wrestling, solid as always. The unfortunate loss of Ring of Honor. What's some of your highlights and lowlights of the year, Jimmy?
Well, highlights for me, actually, for me, the evolution of Roman Reigns, excuse me, he has found a spot now. He's found a sweet spot. And for me, like, he's very consistent, and he's become something that he's very comfortable with. You can see that he's so comfortable in this role, and him and Paul Heyman work so well off each other. And benefiting from all this is the Usos. They're getting elevated because of Roman Reigns, and they're feeding off that same energy, and you can see their confidence building as well. So that's a huge, huge positive moment. Obviously, you mentioned AEW. Congrats to them. Contrary to popular opinion, I do want to see them progress and do well and continue to flourish. I have my critiques about certain aspects of their presentation, but at the same time, they've got a deep, deep roster, and they've got the potential to really put the screws to everybody. But it's not about that. It's about enjoying the business as a whole. I think this is a good time for the wrestling business overall. Like you said, Impact Wrestling has been solid. Yes, the unfortunate news about ROH taking a little break, for lack of a better term, that's probably one of the lowlights for me, unfortunately. But that I have confidence that the talent there will find places to go, because things are starting to open up. It's just a matter of hopefully things continue to open up, and we get past this unfortunate pandemic thing that we've been dealing with for so long now.
100%. For myself, on a personal level, I've been a wrestling fan for over 30 years, and this is one of my favorite time periods. I'm enjoying the business, and if there's something I don't enjoy, hey, I just don't watch it. Everyone needs to chill out. There's no war here. AEW, WWE, Impact, everybody just wants the wrestling business to succeed and get to those big levels again.
Yeah, I that's what I'm hoping for. And I hate to compare it to politics, but it's not about planting your flag and what lawn sign you got and what color it is. It doesn't matter, just try. Hopefully you're entertained. And if you're not, you don't have to be a real spoil sport about it and just go out and go. Like for me, when I do my riff and rants, for example, they're meant to critique, not to throw anyone under the bus or anything like that. It's just, hey, this doesn't work for me. I would like to see this better. That's all it is. But it's not meant to be a negative thing. It's meant to help, And
I like that, because as someone, you're over 13, 14 years in the WWE, your opinion, you've been in there, you've been in the trenches. Yeah. If I'm somebody, I'm going to listen to your opinion. I'm going to go, you know what? That's a great way to look about it. It's not like you're just some keyboard warrior. You're one of the best referees to ever put on the shirt.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And not to throw the correction flag out there, but it's over 20 years with WWE.
Over 20 years.
Almost 25.
Wow.
No, but 22 of it refereeing. So
it's just because you look so young, Jimmy. It's
that just for men.
It's that. Oh, perfect. Well, let's kind of dive into Edge and Christian a little bit here, and I'd love to talk about maybe your history with them. What's your first memories of both of these guys? Maybe the first time you met them, or.
Well, I see. I was there in Hamilton when Edge was there, and he wrestled Bob Holly at a house show. You know, kind of like he was an extra, as they call it, enhancement talent, stuff like that. And he was very, very gracious, and good dude right from the start. You know, handled himself very well, and he was liked. And then, you know, Christian came along, and they saw something in there. And when they brought them together, if I'm not mistaken, their big break came when they paired them with Gangrel to form the Brood. And from there it took off. But you could always see that these guys were creative. Their minds were always working, and they understood how to, I don't want to say play the game, because how to conduct themselves. And when it was time to offer ideas, offer it in the, in the, for lack of a better term, correct manner.
Absolutely.
They knew how to approach them. Hey guys, not to interrupt, but what do you think about maybe possibly doing this, as opposed to, hey, we should do this, you know, because they're the young guys. Do you know what I mean? They knew that, how you presented ideas was just as important as presenting the idea.
And I love that you mentioned the Brood there. You know, we got the great throwback to the Brood this year at SummerSlam with Edge coming out through the fire. I thought that was awesome. I love to see that. And, you know, you said a word special with Edge and Christian. When did you personally know that the company had something special with them? Was there a moment for you that maybe a match that you watch, or just like you said, the way they conducted themselves backstage, where it's just like, these guys could be the future?
Well, it wasn't one specific moment. I think it was just as time progressed, and when I realized that they were going to separate them from David Gangrel, I thought, okay, here it comes. Because, you know, tag team wrestling was starting to become a thing, not like it is today. I know everybody complains, hey, it's not what it used to be. But back then, tag team, you know, you had Edge and Christian. Then there was, you know, the Hardys eventually came aboard. And then, you know, coming over the Dudleys. I mean, it was like, my goodness, look what's going on here. Tag team wrestling is really a big thing. And you knew they had it. You know what I mean? Like, I just remember working matches with them. And when they were heels, when they were baby faces, they just understood. And again, the referee's role in a match is to help the guys tell their story. But at the same time, you know, the guys have to, especially in heels, working a heel tag match, have to know how to manipulate the referee without making him look like, you know, three blind mice and this, and this guy. You know what I mean? Without looking silly. They have to look like they're outsmarting him. And they were masters at being able to do that without making the referee look like a fool, kind of like Eddie and Chavo did it at the same time when they used to do their lie, cheat, and steal.
Yes.
They did it in a way not to bury the referee, but to make people go, oh, look at that. They just outsmarted that guy. And that's what they were great at. Sorry.
That's all right. Party time.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we're talking about, you mentioned so many great tag teams there. Do you think that Edge and Christian, like, if you, not to put you on the spot and do some ranking here, but do you think that they're up there in the greatest tag teams of all time in the same breath with the Road Warriors and, you know, the Dudley Boys and Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express? Would you put Edge and Christian up in the same breath?
I would put them in talent-wise. I mean, like, it's a different criteria if you're talking about drawing power, because you look at the Road Warriors, because people used to pay to see the Road Warriors. But as far as talent goes, they're definitely in that group with the Rock and Roll Express, with like I said, the Hardys and the Dudleys and those guys, Midnight Express and so on and so forth. Arn and Tully, because they understood psychology. They understood how to tell a story in the ring. And yes, I love using this reference because I first heard Rip Rogers use it back in the day. In pro wrestling, we don't sell motion, we sell emotion. Right. And that's what those guys did. And as much as you watch those TLC matches with the Dudleys, Hardys, Edge and Christian, there was a lot of stuff going on, but they told stories and they got you emotionally invested. And that's what they were great at.
And you've got a perfect segue into my next question here. You had a front row seat for many of those famous ladder matches and TLC matches. If I'm not mistaken here, you did WrestleMania 16 with them, SummerSlam 2000, WrestleMania 17. Can you share some of the memories of just being at ringside and just watching that from your point of view?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said before, the referee's main job is to help the talent tell their story. Now, in a match like that, we're not as involved. Basically, main job for me, someone like myself, is the safety of the talent and to make sure that after big moves like falling off a ladder over the top rope through like 4 tables, like Bubba and Matt did, or something like that, you have to go check on them. You have to make sure they're okay, and you have to kind of determine too sometimes, because you'll try and find out if they're okay, and a lot of guys are like, even when they're not, will tell you they are. So sometimes whether they like it or not, sometimes you have to make a judgment call. Thankfully, I was not in that position where I had to say, hey, you know what, that's it for you, you're done, you know what I mean? But you mentioned WrestleMania 17. One example of this, everybody remembers that iconic moment when Jeff was hanging from the belts and the ladder was taken away before Edge speared him and they both came crashing down. If you look at the lower right hand corner of the screen, there's me trying to get a ladder out of the way, making sure that Jeff and Edge did not land on it.
Wow.
It's not. I'm not saying this to put myself over. I'm just trying to explain that we have to be aware of certain things like this to make sure that the risks are intensified in a match like that. We have to try and minimize more risk, if that makes sense.
And that's a tough job. You got 6-8 guys in there at some of those matches, like just to even pick up on something. But even to your credit, the fact that you pulled that off, and like you said, you got to look really closely to see you sneaking that ladder out. Like tip your cap to you there, Jimmy. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's the thing about a referee. You're invisible until you need to be visible. And I was trying to be as discreet as possible, but sometimes you can't help it. Was there any of those bumps that you watch those guys do where you got concerned? I know probably all of them, but was there like one specific or a couple specific where you were like, oh no, this is not going to be good when I get over there? Well, that one for sure, because, you're taking a back bump from up that high, and also Edge is coming with his head down, so you're worried there. You have to check on them. WrestleMania 23 in Pontiac, I think it was.
Yeah, Detroit, Ford Field.
I remember it was kind of Jeff's receipt where he did the seated senton on Edge. The ladder was draped from the ring to the barricade, and they went crashing through that. I don't know, where do I begin with those matches? There were a lot of scary moments, and like I said, just thankfully nobody was seriously injured in those things. Yeah, that's one of the scariest bumps I've ever seen in professional wrestling. I think, Jeff Hardy is a special breed, and the guts that Edge has to just lay there and take it. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable. Were you ever around backstage when they were putting those matches together? Did you ever get to watch them kind of work like you don't have to give away any of the secrets or anything like that, right, but did you get to see the creativity that they put in there? Because they were well laid out matches. Yeah, no, the creativity is incredible. And what I would do, especially in matches like that, is I would ask them when they were going to get together to talk it over, and I would be a fly on the wall and just listen to them, because I would want to know spots like the spear off the rings, or the going over the top rope through the tables off a ladder and stuff like that, because I need to be aware so I could be on the spot again to check on them to make sure that they are okay after said spots, and just to be aware of what's going on, and I liked being that fly on the wall. I liked knowing what was going on, and what more can I say? They were okay with me hearing everything. You know what I mean? Yeah, and then to watch, just to be able to sit there and listen to 6 of the best minds put together a piece of art. These matches are going to stand the test of time forever. Like that's really cool, and to see these guys in general. Absolutely. Just be a sponge and absorb it. Absolutely. I'd like to stick with Edge for a little bit here. It seemed like he had a lot of trust in you, especially when he was on top on the SmackDown division. You got to referee a lot of his matches during that Rated R Superstar run. You got him and Taker at WrestleMania. Obviously, that must be a career highlight for you. Can you tell us a story about how you got that spot in the main event of WrestleMania, what that meant to you, and what it was like to be out there with 2 of the best? Oh, it was incredible, and it was mainly because of Edge and Taker as well. Because originally scheduled at that WrestleMania, I was again scheduled to do the TLC match that was there, but Edge came up to me, and I remember the town too, Little Rock, Arkansas. You know, in the locker room, he says, "Hey, Jimmy, how are you?" I said, "Hey, Edge, sir, what's up?" He said, "Got a minute?" I said, "Sure." So he went over and he says, "Hey, Taker and I want you to ref our match at WrestleMania," and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." He says, "Yeah, come with me." So he took me over to Taker, and we talked about it, and he said, "Yeah." Taker said, "Yeah, we want you to do it." And I said, "Oh, guys, I won't let you down." And he says, and Taker looked at me, that we know you won't. And now I'm feeling pressure. I'm going, oh, I better not screw this up. You know what I mean? But one of the coolest moments though was the day before. We're sitting in at the hotel, and it's Edge, Taker, myself, and Michael Hayes, who's the producer of the match, and one of the things they want to do with the finish, I said, I want you to take a bump and take you out of the match and have a second referee run down. Is that okay? Do you mind? I said, why would I mind? And then Taker looked at me and goes, do you mind taking a big boot from me? I said, are you kidding me? WrestleMania, big boot from the dead man? I'm in. Sign me up. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It was the coolest thing. But then the funny part was that, okay, we need a second ref to come down and for the false finish, blah, blah, blah. Who's it going to be? Everybody looked at each other at the same time after about a 5-second pause, went, Charles. There's nobody else who could make that run. Charles was the only guy because, he was known. He does, he goes for marathon runs daily. He goes for jogs. So he was the only guy in good enough shape to make that 75-yard sprint down to the ring, down that ramp.
And he hauled ass down there too.
And he had the nice hair too.
Yeah,
so,
he had you put the slow down, slow motion, and the nice music going in the background, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. And you managed to stay conscious on this bump, right? Because I know WrestleMania 4, you caught yourself on the chin. You didn't take yourself out of the game like at that one, right?
No, see, the hard part about 24 was staying down because I was so, hyped up and stuff like that. WrestleMania 4 had no choice because Honky Tonk Man versus Brutus Beefcake. Honky was in the sleeper from Brutus. Jimmy Hart jumps up on the apron. I argue with him, and when I turn my back, he swings with the megaphone. I go down. Now, the hit was fine. But as I went down, I put my hands down to brace myself to take the face bump, but my hands went out. I guess it hit the sweet spot.
Night.
Lights out.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah. And then I get heat from Danny Davis because they helped me back. And he said I was dead weighting him on purpose. And I said, Danny, I don't remember a damn thing.
Dangerous Danny Davis. What a great heat magnet he was back in the day too.
Yes.
He's I was just reading online that he's going to have a match in a couple of weeks. He's coming out of retirement for one match.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool. I'm going to have to look for it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to try to watch that one too. I'll find you the link for it if I see it.
Cool.
Last thing I want to talk about, Edge, here before we get into this great moment at the Rumble. Is it true that you are part of the reason why Tony Chimmel came up with the famous Rated R Superstar? Did you have a little hand in that?
Well, a little bit. I mean, like we used to Tony and I traveled together and stuff like that. So, he did it a little bit at house shows. And I was like, yeah, whatever. You were not going to stretch it out and stuff like that. I said, what do you mean? I said, make it longer. So then there's a Rated R Superstar. And then it was kind of like a fun little thing at house shows. See how long you could hold it for and stuff like that. And then it was, you ain't got the what to do it at TV. He did it at TV and it stuck.
That's awesome.
But not as long. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I will say I just listened to him on the Briscoe and Bradshaw podcast.
Oh.
He put you over. He put you over for it a little bit. So that's why I asked.
Yeah, I hate to do it, but I gotta put Tony over too. My old traveling buddy. I gotta do it.
That's okay. I think him and Mr. Briscoe, Bradshaw and Briscoe definitely put him back in check. So you can put him over a little bit. We'll keep his ego under control, right?
Okay, good.
So let's get into the big moment at the Royal Rumble here. Thank you for that history, by the way. That was really cool to take a trip back in time and talk a little Edge and Christian. The Royal Rumble is happening here, and the match is going along great. Edge is in the number 1 spot. You're getting the surprise return of Carlito in there. I thought that the layout of the Rumble was fantastic this year. And then all of a sudden the buzzer goes off and Christian's music hits. What was your reaction to that? How you must have been happy to see your friend get back out there, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was shocking. Just like the Edge one was shocking, prior.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, this is awesome. The reunion now, it's hard to explain, but I went from this is tremendous to, oh, is this going to lead to something between them two now? Because, Edge coming in at number 1 in that Rumble as well. It looks like he's going to last through the whole thing. Will Christian be the guy to cost him that spot, cost him to win at the Rumble? That kind of stuff, and all these thoughts went through my head. But then as I'm watching it, like you said, all these memories start flooding back of them two together and where they began and where they ended up. And it was a feel-good moment for him too, after I don't know how many years it was for him, 7?
I think it was 7 years he was on the shelf. Yeah.
Yeah. Just happy for him that he, like Edge, being able to go out on your own terms means a lot.
Absolutely. And I'm happy that it happened at the Royal Rumble. Last year when we did our year-end show, my number 1 moment of the year was Edge's return at the Royal Rumble. That moment, the facial expression when he has that look around, the emotion in his face, and they kind of got a little bit like that in the Rumble too. I think Edge is probably the best wrestler at using emotions. And you could see it, but it's real though. Like I don't look at this and see, oh, Edge is a great performer. I see this as that's his best friend coming down, and the facial expression and the moment when they hugged, it's one of the greatest moments of the entire year, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I totally agree with you. I absolutely agree. And that's the thing. You could, sometimes in this industry, it's hard to detect, are they working us? That one, you just felt it. And like you said, it felt genuine. And when it feels genuine, there's no better feeling in the world, especially when you're watching pro wrestling.
Absolutely. And we talked about Edge a lot here. Let's just quickly talk about Christian really quick here. The guy comes in after being off for 7 years, goes about 18 to 20 minutes. He's in the final 4 of the Rumble, hanging with some of the best talent in the world. Like, how impressive is that? Everyone says that ring rust it's a real thing. And you can be in great shape physically, but to get in the ring is totally different. To be out for 7 years and step in there with those guys at that caliber, that's impressive, right?
It is impressive, but and not to take anything away from it, but it was fortunate that it was in this situation, because there were opportunities for him to kind of hang back a little bit. It wasn't go for those 18 to 20 minutes, because, like you said, there's a difference between being in shape and being in ring shape, because you can be in the best shape of the world, but you haven't taken a bump in so long. You haven't hit the ropes. Even hitting the ropes is a chore, because, that takes a lot out of you too. So I got to give him a lot of credit for getting back in ring shape before hitting that Rumble match.
No, that's awesome. Were you surprised that the WWE ended up letting Christian go to AEW and they didn't use him again after this? With Edge winning the Rumble, I thought that there was a good opportunity, maybe reunite them, maybe to face the Usos leading up to WrestleMania. Were you shocked to see him go?
Yes, absolutely. I was shocked to see him go, but at the same time, I'm trying to think the mindset now. You try to put 2 and 2 together, but you don't know what they're thinking at the time. Maybe he thought, going to AEW, he would have a bigger role, so to speak, and have more influence on where he would be on the card, as opposed to in WWE. You're pretty much, okay, here's where you're going to be. This is what we got planned for you, blah, blah, blah. It seems like AEW has a little more freedom for the guys to explore other opportunities, for lack of a better term, as far as positioning on the card.
And for a company like AEW, you take a look at the young roster that they have, guys like Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, MJF. How important is it for a company like AEW to have a guy like Christian in that locker room?
It's absolutely important. You look at the guys that they have backstage: Christian, Dustin Rhodes, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Billy Gunn, all the Dean Malenko, who else
Sting.
is there? Jerry Lee, you name it. They've got some great minds back there that could help these young talents. But now it's up to the young talents to absorb, to learn, to take in this information and not dismiss it as, that's old school thinking, because old school could work with new school if you blend it together correctly.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm hoping that's the one thing I'm hoping AEW discovers, that old school mentality can work in new school if you can combine the two in a way that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I'm hoping we're going to see that as this new program with CM Punk and MJF develops. A lot of excitement for that. It's going to be a good test to see it, the old school, the new school, right? Last question I have here just about Christian is, I just want to take a look back, since he's jumped on board with AEW, the guy personally. How incredible is it to see him on this run that he's had? He won the Impact World title. He main evented what many people are calling the best show, one of the best shows of the year at All Out against Kenny Omega. How incredible is it to see him get this run? And from a personal standpoint, as someone who's known him for many years, how happy are you to see it?
I'm extremely happy to see it because, like I said earlier in our little chat, getting to go out on your terms means so much. And I think he got that moment that he wanted in his match with Kenny. But at the same time, now I think it's his time to kind of take a step back and be in that mentor role.
Mm-hmm.
You know, be a mentor to guys like Jungle Boy, be a mentor to guys like an MJF who's only 24 years old.
It's insane.
You know, ahead of the curve, let's put it that way. But hopefully he doesn't let that go too much here and is still able to absorb some of the knowledge that these veterans can give him.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And I think working with a guy like Jericho was so good for MJF. You know, one of the big things that I had noticed about MJF before that feud was I thought that his mic work was fantastic, but it was very cheap heat indie, a little too much swearing. And I think after the Jericho thing, it's kind of seasoned a lot more. Obviously, working with a guy like Jericho, you're going to learn that, right?
No, exactly. And again, that's the perfect way to describe it. You don't need the cheap pop. A guy like him is creative enough where he can do it, you know, very creatively.
Yeah. And, you know, as we look ahead now coming into the new year, I'm hoping personally to see maybe a Christian heel turn. Him and Jungle Boy, I think, could really work some magic together, could help get Jungle Boy to that next level, which he's so close already as it is. You know, a big long feud with Christian would do wonders for that. What are you looking forward to in the new year here, Jimmy?
A lot of things. I'm curious to see where it goes with Roman Reigns, and if you're looking WWE, I want to see where that goes. Obviously, Brock looks like he's back, but you know they did plant that big seed with The Rock, and will it eventually lead to that? That would be very interesting to see. For AEW, I'm curious to see how Lance Archer progresses as their champion, because he is, for lack of a better term, a homegrown AEW guy. I think he needs to evolve a little bit more with his character, you know, this cowboy stuff, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. But it needs to take another step, and he also has to, I hate to say it, get a little better on the mic.
Yeah,
his promo work isn't bad, don't get me wrong, but he needs that next level promo stuff.
Yeah, that's you know, as we record this, he's in a program with Daniel Bryan right now, or Bryan Danielson. I'm a little bit worried that the AEW fans might start turning on him a little bit if he doesn't toughen up a little bit. I'd like to see him keep the Cowboy stuff going, but maybe put a little bit of Stan Hansen Cowboy or a little bit of Bradshaw Cowboy. I want to see a little bit of a killer instinct come out of him now.
If he could put a little Bradshaw Cowboy, and I hate to do this, I know I sound biased because he is my friend, but at the same time, man, talk about a guy who went from, you know, being known as a tag team guy and a guy with a bull rope and stuff like that to the JBL character. Incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's not a bad golfer, I hear, either.
He's not too bad.
Not quite up to your par, though, right?
No comment.
Jimmy, I can't thank you enough for joining us here. Before we let you go, please tell everybody where they can find you, what you've been working on, what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I've been doing my daily ref and rants, which you can get at on my Twitter at Jimmy Corderas, Instagram at Real Jimmy Corderas, my Facebook page, all my social media pages out there. I'm also on Cameo. I have ref and rant t-shirts at prowrestlingtees.com. You can check them out there if you want to get one. And who knows? Maybe a chapter 2 is in the works. You never know.
Now you got my ears perking up. I love hearing that. Well, Jimmy, we just want to say on behalf of Mike, have a very happy holidays, happy new year, and thank you so much for joining us. And you guys stay tuned. We're gonna have the number 6 moment coming up really soon.
Thank you, Tyler, and happy holidays to you guys, and happy new year. All the best,
man. I could listen to Jimmy Corderas tell old stories about Edge and Christian forever. That was awesome. Great call on the number 7.
I just hate that there's certain people. Jimmy's one of them. Bronwyn's another. I'm just cursed to never be able to get onto these interviews.
That's right. And Bronwyn was going to be joining us next week as well. Jimmy, you're 0 for 2 on. I hated leaving you behind on that one, but you know, life is busy and the show must go on, as they say.
Yeah, that's twice I missed Jimmy.
Well, I got to say, I love the number 7. Edge and Christian's reunion is definitely something that needed to be talked about this year. You're off to a good start, man.
And great choice bringing Jimmy on for that one. That was your call bringing Jimmy on for that one. And we couldn't have gotten somebody better to talk about Edge and Christian than Jimmy Korderas.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that. But I'm curious now, you know, I've heard your number 7. I'm curious to know what your pay-per-view of the year was, Mike. And that's where we are right now. We are at our pay-per-view of the year. Do you want me to go first, or would you like to go first?
I think it's pretty obvious what yours is going to be. So you might as well go ahead first, because I don't think you're going to surprise anybody with yours.
Yeah, for me, I'm going. You know what though? It wasn't as big of a shoe-in as you would think it was going to be. I will give an honorable mention to the Saudi Arabia pay-per-view, the Crown Jewel pay-per-view. I thought was a fantastic pay-per-view this year, as well as SummerSlam. I was a very big fan of SummerSlam this year. I thought they did a great job with it. And Money in the Bank was great as well. But for me, the result has to be AEW All Out. I thought they hit a home run right from the get-go. Miro, Eddie Kingston, John Moxley was on the card. And then, there goes the name right out of my head that did the run-in after. Did the great tour of North America this year. Suzuki.
I was just about to say.
Thank you. Britt Baker had a great match on the card. The Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks in the cage match tore it down. Ruby Soho made her debut. Chris Jericho and MJF wrapped up their feud. The in-ring debut of CM Punk, main evented by Kenny Omega and Christian Cage, with the debuts of Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson. I mean, these guys really wanted to make a statement with this pay-per-view, and they did. I wish the follow-up and the people stuck around after, though, but that's a different story for a different day.
Yeah. And if I was a fan of that company and I had actually watched that full pay-per-view, I'd probably be inclined to agree with you. On paper, it looks great. I'm hearing nothing but good things about the majority of the matches that were on there. I just can't jump on board because I'm, as everybody knows on this show, I'm just not the AEW guy. Best pay-per-view of the year was hard for me this year because while there was some good shows, I'm just not a fan of the top two promotions right now. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give two honorable mentions quick before I jump to my actuals. One would be Bound for Glory.
Yep.
Bound for Glory was phenomenal. I thought it was really good. Another one for me was, it's kind of a deep cut, but way back in February, there was a GCW pay-per-view called Run Ricky Run. And that from top to bottom was phenomenal. It's really where the 2021 jump start for Nick Gage really started too. I mean, Nick Gage has been on the steady incline for about 5-6 years now, but this was his big. This is going to be the year of Nick Gage, and he fought Ricky Shane Page in the main event, and it was amazing. But my number one, as is no surprise to yourself, I don't think, has to be Final Battle from Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I had a feeling that's where you're going to go with that. I think you can also give another honorable mention, by the way, to the X Cup at the beginning of the year, the coming out party of Christian Blake. I thought that was a really great Impact pay-per-view as well.
Absolutely, Christian Blake, one of my. If we were doing he's not a rookie, but if we were doing like a rookie of the year or a
breakout star of the year,
yeah, he'd be in contention for sure.
Mm. Yeah.
Big news with Christian Blake. Just on the very last GCW pay-per-view, he came out and challenged Jonathan Gresham for the ROH title at the Hammerstein Ballroom. That's big news.
Wow,
that's huge.
That's massive, and and someone that we're going to hear from in part 2 of this countdown, Mr. Lenny Leonard. We're going to get his thoughts on the Hammerstein Ballroom in a couple of weeks as well.
Yeah,
stick around, kids. It's going to be good. Real quick before we throw to the number 6, I'm going to ask you this one off the. We didn't plan this to talk about it. What was your promotion of the year? Is it GCW for you?
As much as I would love to say it's ROH because ROH tried so hard and they defied every odd put against them, I think I am going to have to go GCW because GCW, they truly did. Each show was just a little bit better than the last. They threw out so many shows. Nobody put out as many shows as GCW did as far as like pay-per-view buys. And that, it's just, each show was so different than the last. They tried different things. They weren't afraid to fail, and the good definitely outweighed the bad.
Yeah,
they told some great stories. They brought in some great names. For my money, I think I watched more GCW than any other product this year.
Yeah, they had a great year, and I'm hoping that they continue that momentum coming the new year with Hammerstein. And for me, I'm going to go AEW. I like the roster. You know what I mean? I'd like to see maybe the angles are hit and miss for me. I'm not this AEW fanboy, but from an in-ring talent, American Dragon's my favorite wrestler. I've always loved CM Punk. I love watching Adam Cole. I get a kick out of the guys like Orange Cassidy, and I love Jungle Boy. I'm becoming an MJF fan now. I'm a big fan of the majority of the roster.
If I do want to change my thought process, though. I think the promotion leader really was Maple Leaf Pro.
I mean,
they've been putting on phenomenal shows nonstop over at Showtime with Mike and Tyler that can be found at www.canada7.com.
Yeah, if we would have waited a couple more weeks, though, I think that the Wrestling on the Rise pay-per-view would have been our pay-per-view of the year, though.
We'll see about that.
Well, somebody that did attend an AEW show this year is going to be here for our number 6, and he's a great friend of the show, all-around great person. I'll never tell him that to his face, and he is the best student. Nope. He is the best student a guy could have, even though he doesn't like Hell in a Cell 1997. We all have our flaws. We're going to throw it over to the number 6 moment of the year. Myself, you, and Mr. Anthony from the Titantron.
And we are into the number 6 moment. And to help us with the moment, of course, coming from the Titantron podcast and our very own Classic Match Classroom, we have Anthony.
Hello. Great to be on this end of year list. Glad that I was picked for it. Let's talk about the rest.
Absolutely. So the number 6 moment that I chose this year, we're going to AEW. Surprise, surprise. I know people are going to be surprised when if I talk about AEW on this list, but he's one of my favorite guys. AEW or not, he's one of the best wrestlers in the world right now. And we're talking about Hangman Page and the day he won it all.
Yeah, that's a great call, Mike. I'm surprised that you included this one on your list. I know that you haven't been a big AEW watcher the whole year, but I respect that you put this on your list because you can't turn a blind eye to just the impressive run of Hangman Page, the slow build up to this moment.
I slowly started to come around in the whole Kenny Omega thing. I started to like what they were doing. And I said, listen, now that they're making this important, whoever takes that title off of Kenny, this is going to be big. Like they have to make the right choice. They have to put it on somebody important, somebody who can really use it and use it well. And I don't think there's a single member of that roster that would better suited for it than Adam Page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did a phenomenal job in building this up. That's why I like, as much as him winning it was so great, I think the build to him was better. And this, goes all the way since the beginning of AEW. And I just think it's such an amazing story that they were able to keep it going, start and stop a little bit. But for the most part, you had 2 full years of amazing storytelling, both on AEW programming and as much as, I like to shit on it, being the elite it's huge. It's a new step in another direction as far as storytelling and added another layer. It was pretty much groundbreaking. And for Adam Page to go ahead and win the title off of this, I couldn't have thought of how it's been done.
I'm
better.
also very well known for shitting on being the elite, of using a YouTube program to tell your stories, have TV time. But I have to admit they used it well for this story. Adam Page, every moment he was on being the elite meant something, and it all came full circle to this moment. Anthony,
before we got on the air, just a little refer, and it's such a good series.
And anybody who doesn't think this was a great story or doesn't remember it being a great story, go back and watch it from the beginning. See how early they planted the seeds for all this.
Mm-hmm.
And then, watching it, I keep saying, okay, I was wrong in certain parts.
Right.
Because I remember, like Tyler and I argued all the way back when I was not a fan of Paige losing to in the first championship match. I wanted Paige to be that first champion. I can admit now that I was wrong, because this has come to the point where they've made it worth it. You know.
Yeah. So
Tyler?
I had a little bit of a gap there, a little bit of an audio issue there. So you guys are talking about the good, bad, and the elite right now, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. So and like you said, Mike, we argued about this since day one. I thought it was smart to put the belt on Jericho, have the established guy go. You wanted Hangman right away. I forgot all the little things along the way that made this Hangman build so special. The little things with the Young Bucks, and a lot of people shit on the Young Bucks, and I know you're not a big fan of them, Mike, but little looks, little movements, little leg grabs, you know what I mean? Right up until the moment where Hangman won, and Matt was standing there, and they looked at each other, and he gave him that head nod, like, this is your moment, like, and you cannot undersell the importance of the Dark Order and how entertaining they've been with Hangman Page, trying to get him to join the group. When they didn't, when Hangman said no to them and they threw the big party, he said yes. Like, very entertaining stuff moment they did there.
I wasn't a big fan of the Dark Order stuff, and then rewatching it in the good. Reading it in that package, I realized again, I can admit when I'm wrong. It's a lot better in that package. And I watched it all together. It's a great story.
Yeah. I really like that moment too, where they did that big cow.
Like, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, we're having some audio issues here, boys. I was gonna say I really like that moment that they did when they did the big cowboy entrance. The big video package aired. What does it mean to be a cowboy? The spotlights hit. Like, you talk about a big moment of the year. That entrance is one of the best entrances I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hangman's had a lot of really great entrances. Even, the latest entrance at Full Gear was with all the visuals of, him losing to Jericho and him pulling on the foot, like all that just, and like you said, Tyler, it's like those little things that you forget along the way that kind of just blend all together. Like, I completely forgot about FTR's inclusion in its entirety, but the fact that they were so, such an integral part of the feud just adds more to the story. I, for one, wasn't a huge fan of the drunk Hangman storyline. I thought it was like weird. I wasn't really sure where we were going with it, but like we've been saying, when you look at the whole story, and now that we finally reached the end of it, everything just makes so much more sense. And you look at any stage, they could have gone so many different ways with the storytelling. And I think this was the perfect way that they capped off the just 2 years of beautiful storytelling to the point where there wasn't anyone else that they could have put the title on. And you can make the argument that, maybe they waited a little bit too long with All Out. I was one of the people that really thought that he should have won it. But even with that, Full Gear, their match last year at Full Gear, kind of full circle there, like, how could you have done it any better?
Now, here's a question for both of you. Now that it's on Page, what do you do to make it mean something? His very first rival, it's the American Dragon. That's scary to me, because then because to me, as much as this is a great feud right now, and it's going to be a match, I almost feel like they should be building up to something like this. To me, only one of two things is going to happen here. He loses his first title defense, or he beats Dragon, and then what? Then it's like, okay, fans aren't going to give a shit because he just beat the best in the division. Where does he go from here? And is this going to hurt Page's title run? Anthony, I'll let you go first on that one.
You make a really good point. Like, I'm really looking forward to the Winter is Coming match. I'm sure everyone is, but you have to think of what's next. And honestly, like, I can't think of a bigger match than Bryan Danielson, especially for something like Revolution, which is supposed to be, kind of the turn pay-per-view for AEW each year. So when you look at the remainder of the roster, you really have to think, like, Are they going to build someone for Paige? Is there anyone really that you could build that would be on the same, Dragon? Like, I really don't know where you go from here. That makes me think and makes me really worry if this is where we finally get a short title reign in AEW's lineage. Is this going to be just a quick win, Brian, and then we continue that kind of build Hangman kind of chasing the title? I don't want to see it, but that kind of makes me think, like, who else is there at this point in the game?
I've got a couple points on this one. Number one, I am scared that the AEW fans are going to turn on Hangman Page because of how poorly I feel like he's been booked so far. Dragon is being booked. He's the best thing in wrestling right now. Everyone says Roman Reigns, and I would put Dragon right there with him right now. The promo work he is doing is so good, but they're making Hangman kind of look silly. You know what I mean? And Dragon is really getting the better of him, but not in a good way. You know what I mean? Like when Hangman came out as we record this a couple weeks ago now, after Dragon fought Colt Cabana. All right, let's have our title match right now. Well, you would come out and do that, coward. But he's not wrong there. That's a heel move to do, not a face move to do. And with Dragon being so entertaining, I think that the fan base is going to get behind him and want him to beat Hangman for the belt. I'm okay with that. I am okay with Hangman having a short title reign. Not every title reign needs to be a year. They haven't had a short one yet. And I'm sure that they could tell a story of Hangman climbing back up. And maybe then the second time he gets that long reign. Ric Flair had a short title reign for his first one. He was only about 5-6 months, which back in that time period is like 3 weeks in our time period. You know what I mean? If they do decide, though, to have Hangman go over Danielson, I think that there is a guy on that roster that makes perfect sense to be the next challenger. Adam Cole, baby. And I'll tell you why, because he wants to take Kenny's place right now. He's in there with the Bucks. From a storyline standpoint, it makes sense. And then it can lead to a Kenny Omega, Adam Cole feud when Omega does come back.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I think, there's all these people talking about how, Adam Cole's run in AEW so far has been kind of mid-tier. Of course, it's only been 12 weeks, but, so if anything, this will definitely put him on the map if they want to put him in a title picture with Paige, and then you go forward with the Omega feud. We'll never understand why people are so quick to judge on stuff like that. But yeah, I love to see that. I think Paige and Cole it works. And Cole has definitely warranted a championship title match feud at this point. So I'd be down for it.
This is my problem though with the AEW fan base and the wrestling fan base in general. Not everybody can be the world champion. Not everybody can be in the main event. Have patience, We waited 7 years for CM Punk to come back, and then people bitch that he was wearing pants. We got American Dragon letting loose in AEW, and people are upset because he's not the world champion yet. Adam Cole's having the worst run ever, apparently. He's been in the company for 12 weeks. How do you want, what do people expect here? Chill out, everybody. Wrestling is about storytelling. Take your time. Not everybody needs to be in the world title picture right away. Let Punk build his way up. Let Cole do his stuff with the Young Bucks. It's Hangman's moment now. He can be with Danielson. You can go with Miro next. You can go with Lance Archer next. You can go
Miro,
You know what I mean? They have the most talented roster going right now, and everyone's hungry. Chill the fuck out. Adam Cole will get his moment to shine, but it's not his time right now. It's Hangman's time.
It's not the way. It's just not the way it was when you and I were coming up, and I always end up sounding like this old man yelling at a cloud. But it's true, man. Like put yourself back in the early '90s. In 1996, Shawn wins the title. He'd been with that company for like 6 years already. 6 years, and he's now winning the title, and that was normal. That was normal.
Almost nowadays, 8 years, Mike.
8 years?
Almost 8 years.
Almost 8 years. And that's not counting his time in AWA, and you know what I mean? WWF. He's been in that company for 8 years, and this is like his third title shot ever, and he's winning. He's had 3 title shots in 8 years. Now
you don't get a title shot your first 12 weeks, apparently, you're being booked horribly.
You know what I like that they're doing, though? They've learned from TNA. Because this was my biggest pet peeve with TNA. TNA would sign a WWE guy and immediately put the world title on him, and it hurts your entire roster. And everyone used to bitch about that. And now everyone's bitching that they're not signing WWE guys and putting the title on them. The fuck do you guys want? Seriously, tell me. What do you guys want?
I mean, I suppose you could say TNA learned from WCW.
WCW.
Sure, I seem to remember a WWE guy going over there and winning the title his first night.
Well, you know. We don't have time. We don't have time to get into fucking the downfall of WCW.
Before we put a wrap on this on our number 6, I guess the question is on both of you. Am I correct? Does this deserve to be one of the top 7 moments of 2021?
Yeah, I mean, with the amount of storyline behind it, the time it took to build to that moment, and the ultimate payoff, which was a beautiful match, and an even better ending sequence. This definitely has to go on a top 7 list of the best moments. I would even put it higher, to be honest with you, but I think 6, taking into consideration any negatives that you want to put associated with Tori, I would say for sure warrants a spot.
I think it needs to be on the list for sure. AEW definitely was a breath of fresh air to a lot of people this year. Yep. And I think right now you got to put their world title being up there as one of the most prestigious titles in wrestling. I think you do. I think you do.
Talk to me in 2 years. Come on.
Well, what I'm saying though, so AEW has been around for 3 years now? Is that where we are with them? 3 years as a company? 2 years?
Just about.
Yeah.
The title reigns that they've had so far with Jericho, with Moxley, and then with Kenny Omega, they're building that title up. If you compare what they've done with their title the last 3 years compared to what Impact, WWE has done, with the exception of the NWA, because that's, Nick Aldis had his fantastic run there, but nobody watched it. Nobody saw it.
I would say it's definitely probably, it might be the most prestigious title. I mean, even if you look at New Japan
lost a lot of steam.
Absolutely. Ever since they lost all those guys to AEW, I would say New Japan hasn't nearly been the same as it is, or it had been before the.
I think it's been the best book title in wrestling over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
So to have a title change and they made it mean something, which I can't remember the last time I felt a title change mean something. I think Bobby Lashley, when he beat The Miz early in the year, was a great title change in the WWE.
Yeah.
But I can't really remember another title change that had this much behind it. So I absolutely, I think you put in probably the perfect spot as well. Maybe 6'5" range, I think is perfect for it. I hate putting you over, that.
I love it. Love it. Well,
all right.
Thank you very much for joining for this one, Anthony.
Thanks for having me.
Anthony, hit us up with all of your social medias. I know we might be getting into the new year by the time you get done running through all your podcasts here, but hit us up with your social medias where people can check you out.
Yeah, of course, you can always find me on Instagram at the Titantron Podcast, on Twitter at _Titantron. My podcast is on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Pods. Just type in the Titantron Podcast and you're bound to find my content, plus the Classic Match Classroom. You can go ahead and find us on Instagram at Classic Match Classroom, as well as on Twitter at CM Classroom, not to be confused with CM Punk. Always got to get that one in there. A lot of great matches on the way, so make sure you're tuning in and checking out all of our content. And again, thank you so much for including me on this list. Very glad to be one of the top 7 guests of the year, I guess you could put it.
If this hiatus you guys are on the last 7 years, then we might mistake it for CM Punk.
Well, Anthony, sir, you have yourself a very happy holidays. And I guess the only thing left to say to you is that your class has been dismissed, sir. Big thanks to Anthony for jumping on there. You guys stay tuned. The return of Classic Match Classroom is coming in the new year. We're working on a whole new formula. We're working on a whole new set of curriculum for you guys to listen to. I got some awesome matches lined up. Can't wait to get back in there and record with my star pupil, Mr. Cerulli.
Yeah, baby.
Well, I think before we throw to your number 5 moment here and our last guest of the week, because we really had a great chat with this guy and it went into a whole bunch of different directions.
Oh, yeah.
I need to know, Mike, what was your tag team of the year? This one was hard for me. I'm not going to lie.
See, I that surprises me because I feel like I've already pinned you down for yours. It was very hard for me.
Okay, wait. Before you say yours, I want you to give your prediction of what you think mine is.
FTR.
Okay. And
it's not even a second thought for me. If you chose anybody but FTR, you'll have colored me surprised.
All right. I think you well, stick around. I want to hear yours first, and I'll go with mine.
Mine's really difficult because the easy answer for me, because they're my favorite tag team, would be the Briscoes, but they spent half the year feuding against each other. On another hand, another favorite of mine would be the Second Gear Crew, over at GCW, but they spent the last few months with Mance Warner out with a broken leg. So it's tag teams have kind of broken my heart this year. So I'm going to go with somebody who, even though they haven't had a whole lot of tag matches together, they've been together for the better part of 2 years now again. And even when they're feuding with other people, they're always side by side. I'm going to go with the OGK. Okay.
The OGK is that a GCW team?
No, it's from ROH. That's Matt Taven and
the Kingdom. Sorry.
They've been going by the OGK as in the original Kingdom for since they've been back together.
That's not a bad pick at all. I will tell you my honorable mentions before I give you my tag team of the year. The Briscoes were on my list just because I love the Briscoes. Yeah. The Uso brothers, I thought, had a great year. And they're doing great stuff with Roman Reigns. They're probably my number 2 pick of the year. The Lucha brothers, I thought, had a great year.
Yep.
I can't even believe these words are coming out of my mouth. My tag team of the year is RK Bro.
Okay.
Randy Orton and Riddle.
Unfortunately, I'm not watching the WWE product.
I'm not watching a lot of it.
I don't know if I've watched them wrestle.
They've just been so entertaining together. FTR is my favorite tag team probably, but they were kind of on the back burner for most of the year this year in AEW. They didn't really get to show a lot, right? And I'm not knocking AEW for that because I like that, they had their title run and now they're out on the back burner. It keeps everything fresh. Not everyone needs to be the main eventer of all time. They were in that great feud, the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle. They did stuff this year, but their focus wasn't on tag team wrestling. It wasn't on, the tag team titles. They were just kind of having great matches all year. I would put the Usos as my strong number 2 there. And then the Lucha Brothers always have great matches. But to me, RK Bro, I just, from a purely entertaining standpoint, Riddle and Orton's chemistry is fantastic. And they've had great matches against a lot of great teams in this year. And I'm hoping that it spins off into a WrestleMania match with these two, something fresh.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and change my answer. I hate being flaky like this, but I'm going to change my answer. As much as the OGK really entertained me this year, I am going back to saying the Briscoes. Because even though the Briscoes did spend a lot of the year, feuding against each other and not, it was all in the interest of being a great tag team. It was a story about being a great tag team. They had to fight each other to get back on track of being a great tag team. And then what they do, they become a tag team. They go over to GCW and win the GCW championships.
Absolutely.
And then they become the 12-time and possibly last ROH tag team champions.
I can't argue your point.
And then just a few days ago, they go ahead and have a banger of a match for the GCW championship against PCO and Brody King.
Absolutely.
So you know what? I'm going with the Briscoes for my tag team of the year.
I can't argue the point at all. I think they had a great year, and I'm excited to see what they're doing now. There's the rumors: are they going to AEW? Are they going to stay with GCW? Who knows?
There's a big rumor about Brody King going over there, which I support. I like the idea of Brody King over there, especially if he goes over there to tag with his partner Malachi Black. They will make a great tag team over in AEW.
Yeah, they're the current PWG tag team champions, I believe.
Yes, exactly. But with the Briscoes, I don't want them to sign anywhere right now. I want them to be those drifters. I want them to go all over the place. I want them to do what they've been doing. Go and, hold on to those ROH championships and defend them everywhere they go. Go to the GCWs and the Black Labels and your MLWs. Go to MLW and fight the Von Erichs.
That'd be
Go
amazing.
to
Briscoes and Von Erichs. Wow. Look at
Right?
just the history of those names.
Go over to PWG and fight Malachi and Brody over there. Make appearances in AEW. Do it all, but don't sign anywhere.
I'd love to see them show up in Impact and take on the Good Brothers. I think they would have a great
100%.
match. I would love to see them rip through that AEW tag team roster, man. Give me the give me the Briscoes and FTR. Give me the Briscoes and Santana and Ortiz. Give me the Briscoes and Lucha Express.
Lucha Brothers.
Or Jungle Express. Like, give me it all, man.
And then once again, I know they've been there, but maybe once things gonna start, normalizing again with COVID again, throw them back over to Japan.
Oh yeah,
Guerrillas
Guerrillas of Destiny. They got some unfinished business there.
They have a lot of history with the GOD.
Absolutely.
There's a lot you can do with the Briscoes. And I don't want to see them tied down anywhere right now, especially with the chances of ROH coming back in April. If there's anybody I want to say these guys can come back and help rebuild ROH, I want it to be the Briscoes.
I agree. I'm with you, man. I'm with you 100%. I love the picks, and I love who's joining us for the number 5 moment of the year. Mike, why don't you tell the people who's coming on this one? Because it's your boy. It's our boy.
It is my boy. I couldn't be more excited to have him on. Second time on this show. He's the man about to face John Atlas for the Three Pistols Championship. Our boy, Big Scary, Holden Albright.
Yeah, we're going to have a great chat with Holden right now. Buckle in for this one. We go all over the place, and it's a great time. So here we go with the number 5. So we have come to the number 5 moment of the year on conspicuous by his absence, Mike, for his list of the top 7 moments of 2021. And we had to bring in a special guest for this one. One of our favorite guests that we had of the entire year. Someone who I'm happy to have gotten to know over the last couple months at the Barrie Wrestling shows. We're talking about Mr. Holden Albright over here. Holden, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing all right. You can tell our friendship by how much of our post-job secrets we've told each other.
That's it.
And weapons provided the other one with to hurt their opponents with.
That's right. It's a big thank you for helping us out with that table stuff. That was a bucket list moment for us, for sure.
Thank you. I just saw the footage. It was super fun.
Yeah. How's my cell? I got a Ricky Morton future in me there.
I feel like you look like you would enjoy being abused by someone that has an hourly rose rate.
My safe word is don't stop. So and also I have to say huge pop on the shirt you're wearing. Big time Donkey Kong fan. That's fantastic.
It is weirdly like this was like $15 at Walmart like 3 years ago, and it's still like one of the comfiest like sweaters I have.
Don't sleep on Walmart like clothing. Like their pajamas are my go-to, and their t-shirts are always so comfortable. And they got some fun stuff there. Give a prop to Walmart.
100%.
So before we get into Mike's moment here, and Mike might be doing a run-in on us here. We're not too sure yet. Let's talk about your year a little bit, man. What are some of your highlights, either inside the ring or some stuff that you've been watching and enjoying? It's been a big year. It's been a weird year.
Definitely a weird year. I'm happy that wrestling came back for me at least around late July, and I've gotten some of the kinks out that I'm happy that now I've been happy with most of my matches since the end of October. So I'm happy about that, and it was a lot of a confidence booster year because we weren't able to hold shows and training was super limited. That I got to shout out Shane Saber for organizing like a space that we could all get together not get together at the same time, but we had access to the space that we put up the Barrie Wrestling ring, and we were able to train whenever. And there was some younger, more inexperienced guys that we were helping out, and it wasn't a school, so it was this weird like co-op kind of thing, and we were just all helping each other, and I gained enough confidence and assurance in myself that I'm now, because of that experience, coaching my own classes of helping people in other places like Crossbody and Cambridge. And it was just a good time where on the wrestling side of it, I was at that location so much because we couldn't do anything during the pandemic. I was watching so much wrestling from like Fight TV and IWTV and just all this stuff that the TV there was always just playing some sort of wrestling, that like I would train or work out and I'd look over and just be watching Matt Cardona and Nick Gage or whatever pay-per-view just happened for AEW. And it was just always like a fun moment of just like, there's so much good and interesting stuff going on in the world of wrestling right now.
Yeah, it's probably the best time. I've been watching wrestling my whole life. I'm 37 years old. I've been watching it since I was a kid on my grandfather's lap. And I think this is the best time to be a wrestling fan. You know, I came up during the Attitude Era and it was fun and the Monday Night Wars and whatever, but this blows it away for me, man. Everybody's kind of working together. We're getting dream matches. The in-ring stuff is fantastic. You know, there's some stuff that could be a little better maybe, but like, if you don't like it, don't watch it. There's so much variety right now. It's amazing.
You can't hate watch anything because there's not enough time to watch all the good stuff, so why waste it?
Exactly, right? You know, if you're not a fan of Monday Night Raw, watch SmackDown or watch the NWA or, you know, watch old stuff. Like, I always go back and I love watching old Crockett stuff or old Ring of Honor stuff. Like, those are my two golden eras, '06 Ring of Honor and '89 Crockett, all day long for me.
What a juxtaposition.
Crazy, eh? But there's a lot of similarities in those two, though. Like, '06 Ring of Honor really was a throwback product mixed in with like this new crazy, like they did the CZW feud that year, but then you had Dragon on this amazing technical wrestling, like Ric Flair-esque title run that he was doing. It was fantastic.
Well, it's one of those things I feel like in the Attitude Era, it was what's going to happen next week. And on the independent level right now and some of the TV with MLW and Impact and AEW, that it's what the hell is going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like now it's, oh no, this person is fired and you're only going to see them at your local indie maybe once a year. Where it's now it's like, oh, all these people are fired. Okay, are they going to go to GCW? Are they going to do Impact? Like, FTR just invaded ROH to challenge the Briscoes for a to-be-determined match.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no corner that you're looking at where it's just normal.
Like, what's so cool about that Ring of Honor pay-per-view that just happened is, like you just said, so you got FTR from AEW challenging the Briscoes, who are now, GCW, kind of, we'll say Ring of Honor still. And then right before that, you had Deonna Purrazzo coming out from Impact challenging Roxy. Like, what a wild time. Like, it's crazy. Like, absolutely crazy.
And then Jay Lethal's still technically an AEW guy, and because they had to replace him and because people are working together right now, he challenged for the ROH title.
It's unreal. It's unreal. That reminds me, like the only thing I can ever think of that happened was like years ago when Taz went back to ECW and helped out and put over or beat Mike Awesome, who was WCW versus WWF in an ECW ring. Like, that was pretty wild too, but that's like a normal thing now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good. Good times for wrestling. Mike's got his list going pretty good here. We're going to roll on to the number 5 moment. Right before that, though, I just want to give a shout out to the work that you've been doing, man. You've been doing great stuff. For me personally, you've been one of the guys that have helped get me back into independent wrestling. I fell off the radar for many, many years. And, we kind of started doing some work with Barrie Wrestling. We sponsored the All Ontario Cup. And Mike kept telling me, man, you got to get back into wrestling. You got to check out Holden. You got to check out this guy Holden. He's crazy. You're going to love him. And man, the first time I saw you work was Corey Stone, and you guys just had a great program. And I'm back, man. I'm loving everything Barrie Wrestling's doing. And I can't wait to check out more independent wrestling this year.
Hell yeah, it's super exciting. And a lot of the benefit of the geography of like Southern Ontario wrestling goes from about Hamilton to Kitchener, Cambridge. It starts stretching out to Sarnia, but it's not as active right now. And then goes up to Barrie and then Oshawa. Like, that's the diamond of Toronto, Brampton, Hamilton, Burlington, Kitchener, and Barrie. That this is Southern Ontario wrestling. And now that the production quality in Barrie, it was never the in-ring product that wasn't there yet, because who we're going to discuss number 5 was having bangers with Kevin Blackwood and Garcia and Fuerza and Barry literally the year before the pandemic.
Oh yeah, absolutely, right. And to me, I think that Ontario, especially Ontario, but we'll say Canada as a whole, we have the biggest untapped market for talent. There's nobody that's bad out there. Well, maybe there is. I don't know. I haven't seen them yet because I'm only
very optimistic. I appreciate the optimism.
I'm a positive wrestling fan. I try to stay as positive as I can. But when I'm watching the shows, at least, and I'll be biased because I'm only really checking out Barry Wrestling right now, I haven't seen a bad match since I've started watching Barry Wrestling.
Well, I'll take that as a compliment. It's definitely a lot of talent. Like, for instance, it was the first time I ever went on an airplane this year, actually.
Yeah.
And it was for wrestling in Edmonton. So I met a bunch of people there that I've never met before. And then I was in Vancouver the next month and just meeting a bunch of people. And it's just, there's a lot of good wrestling and a lot of good talent in Canada. It's just that border is such a invisible line. And I always break it down to, there's 35 million people in Canada. There's 350 million in the States. No matter what you do, 10 times more people are going to be impacted by it if it happens in the States. And it's not even the betting on yourself, put the gas in the car and cross the border. It's, okay, I have a plan to go across the border. Will the border fuck me over? And it's all those little things that it leads to a disadvantage and the deck being a little stacked. But even when the deck's stacked against you, the cream rises to the top, like, hopefully, but I feel like it's just as long as you don't quit on yourself, your time will eventually come.
Absolutely, right. I don't think a lot of people realize how hard it is for Canadians to get over to the States and to do work. Like, it's not just as simple as, okay, I'm at the border, here's my passport, okay, I'm going to go wrestle now. You got to get the right visas. It's expensive. It's obstacles, and I don't understand it. Why can't we just go over and work? We let the people from the States come over here and work, right?
Well, it's because of Vince McMahon. So
Oh,
Vince
yeah.
in the 90s specifically had the rules changed that in the Canadian side of things, anyone could come over and just be like, yep, I'm going to go wrestle. They can look in the books or the laws, whatever. It's there. Professional wrestlers can cross into Canada. When we go across, we just need, it's not about visas, because visas, A, you need to be sponsored by a company. B, you need that like actual reason to prove that you're not taking a job from someone local, where it's a art form. There isn't I need one dude that is 6'5" and 700 pounds bullshit like that. It's, well, if you come across, you're taking a job where everyone's different.
Yeah.
That they wanted you. They didn't just want a wrestler. So there's all those little things that when we cross, we're not making any money because legally we're not allowed to. So we're just getting our expenses covered, hopefully, and it's just for that shot and that opportunity to hopefully be seen by a bigger company.
Yeah, I was reading an interview that Lance Storm did talking about it, and he said when he was applying for his stuff that he had to show like magazine clippings that he was a championship and like his championship accolades, which is so silly.
It's so funny for the fact that like, and I'm one of the people that is realistic about championships in wrestling. It was someone's idea that you had a championship in a real combat sport, in a real soccer match or something. It doesn't go, okay, you're the best striker, so you're going to win. That underdog team can win. But when it comes to applying and stuff, all those tournament wins, all the battle royal wins, all those championships that your name was underlined to win, those mean something to show your references. It's as if like you made up all these names of movie characters and you use them as a reference in your resume, and it's like, wow, they came up with so many names and fake numbers, but it actually means something.
Yeah, I don't get it. This is a whole other podcast that we can get into, and it's something that I've been talking to some people about. I want to help spread the word. Let the Canadians free, man. Let us get over there and show the world what we can do. It's what our number 5's doing right now.
100%. He's the best example of it.
So let's let the people in on the secret then. Our number 5 moment of the year, by Mike's list this year. It's Mike's turn this year. I did last year's best of the list. It's the rise of Josh Alexander. Anybody who listens to this show knows that we love us some Josh Alexander. You've got a long history with him, and I want to get into that in a minute, but
Josh is letting the whole world know what we've known for, the last 10 years, that this guy is amazing. And when given the opportunity, he's going to take the ball and run with it.
100%. He is the type of. I'm so grateful to have a guy like him in my life, for the fact that I can now see that if you're a good human, if you are working extra hard to become better every opportunity you get, it will pay off eventually. And once again, it didn't pay off in 5 years, 6 years. There's been injuries. If Josh was the type of dude that would rest on excuses, he had like 12 different times he could have used an excuse to quit on himself or whatever, and he never did. And I think I am a better person for having someone like that I can see as an example of. He's a good wrestler, but he's also a good goddamn husband and father. And it's like, you can be both. It's not about picking and choosing. Like, this is like a story that there was never an opportunity to tell the story. But the day he was opening up his wrestling school, I still had a broken hand, but because I have like my days free, because my job allows it, I was helping him set up the ring at the school, and he got the phone call saying his visa got approved by Scott Demore. And while on the phone call, he's not going to rest on excuses, and he's not going to stop what he's doing where it's like, oh, I'm signed to a contract. I don't need to wrestle these banger, intense 8 to 15 to 60-minute matches because I already have the contract. He literally gets a phone call. Visa's improved. He walks back in the building. He's like, it was me, I think, Jade Chung, and Shane Saber. And he's like, okay, well, my visa got approved, but the fucking wood on the ring doesn't match up the proper size. Like, he was still like, he was focused on that because there was going to be an open house in an hour and a half. And it was just all those little things that you just get a reminder that he worked super hard. And he had the Iron Man match to where he's been open about that. They told him, oh, well, you don't have to do a full Iron Man match because it's a close set. There's no fans there, so they can cut out the commercials. And he said, fuck that. And then they even made sure to put the full match up on YouTube to show people that, like, I have a little bit of a background in magic tricks. And there are some magic tricks done on TV that are camera tricks. That what you see here, you don't know the camera slowly moving to the left at the same time. So just knowing that, he's like, yeah, he works hard. And he's one of the dudes that no one can say a bad thing about him not deserving what he deserves. He's not the typical X Division champion. Killed that. Cash-in option C is not the current champion, but he held that Impact World Championship on the record books for at least a few minutes.
Absolutely. I want to get into all that stuff for sure. And that match with TJP too, that's one of the matches of the year. They tore the house down.
Yep.
So let me go back in time a little bit, because I kind of want our listeners to know your history with Josh. What's your earliest memories of meeting Josh and your first impressions of him?
When I was training in 2014, he was on all the shows, and he was the stereotypical wrestler that he stood out on all the shows, and not because of flashy gear or flashy moves. There was a believability in his work, and I was drawn to that. And even in training, because he's a very vocal wrestler, you hear him. I took that onto myself while training. And that was one of the things that helped set me apart from other people. And then I believe within the first year of me in wrestling, I got a chance to where he would come down to the gym for like a drop-in and do different stuff. And then because he lived in Brampton at that time, which is where I live, I started riding with him to shows and like talking about life and a little bit about wrestling. And then it just progressed from there. And in 2018, I finally got the opportunity to wrestle him. And it's one of those, I want to wrestle that guy because he'll make me better. Like, the match will be good and whatever, but like, I'm going to learn so much in the ring. And I always say, like, because I also had a 60-minute Iron Man match against Josh. And I say I survived that match. I don't say I won it. And I say Josh beat the shit out of me for 58 and a half minutes. I had a solid minute and a half, and their 90 seconds spread out through 60 minutes. But it was one of the things where he would test people, and not like in a walk on eggshell bullying way. It's like, hey, let's go in the ring, and he's not going to expose you out there, but he's going to give you so many opportunities to shine. And like, that's the sign of a good wrestler.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely, man. And we're going to have Mike do a run in here finally. Welcome to the party, Mike. He's gonna go, I can't hear anything until I say something. Are you here there? Can you hear us there, sir?
I hear you making fun of me, you piece of shit.
Well, we're rolling here on your number 5 moment, Mike. We just got started talking about Josh Alexander. We're talking about the first impressions that Holden had with him and then their first meetings, and I kind of want to roll into the next question here with Josh, and then I'll throw it to you for a question. I guess I'll let you play too, Mike. It is your list. 2015, a lot of people don't know that Josh had to overcome a big neck injury, right? He had a couple neck surgeries, and it sounded like from what I was reading online and doing my research, though, that he was getting ready to kind of call the quits and throw in the towel, and the injuries had him down there. What do you think changed his mind? Were you around him at this time? Like, do you know what kind of turned the gears and got him back in the ring and said, I'm giving this another go?
So Josh is very open, and I fall under the same camp, and there's a lot of wrestlers that do, of without wrestling, it's miserable. Like, even as wrestling fans, having wrestling there, it is like your security blanket. It's that thing that you talk about watching, like, old stuff too. Like, my biggest issue is if anyone's just complaining, it's not like it was the 60s and 70s where they had to tape over the tapes because they were expensive. Anything after 1980 pretty much is saved, and you can either pay a subscription service to watch it when you want, or you could figure out your ways to watch it online or downloading it. It's not gone in the ether. It's not replacing what was. But at that time, so Josh had one surgery, and he just didn't tell anyone, and he just disappeared basically and missed a couple weekends of shows. And then it was a second one, and he's been open about the timeline on it, and like, cheap plug, I had him on my podcast in July, and I did it a different way. I just showed a bunch of different photos throughout his life and let him explain the time period and what was going on and his thought processes. So he touches on a little bit of it there. Cheap plug for my podcast. So this is Brendan, available wherever you're listening or watching this.
I actually did listen to that episode too. It's very good.
And it's just opening up, and it's also the perfect example. I'll put over the fact of, I will get into like these deep questions, but also I asked him, because we were talking about like fitness, what his biggest poop was. So that's a little teaser for anyone going in there, of because when you're pooping a lot and you happen to see the scale, you're gonna test it out. You're gonna see what you weighed before you got on and after you got on the toilet. But he went in for a second neck surgery, and he did retire. There was a retirement show for him. He was on the back burner, I want to say, probably about a year and a half, like from May or July, somewhere there, he has the second neck surgery, and then he goes in. But apparently the second neck surgery was just the damage they thought it was there. It was because of the first surgery, so it became more of a cleanup job. And because Josh is such a fucking man of his word, he said he retired. He didn't want to be. We were talking about Terry Funk earlier before we started recording. He didn't want to be that typical wrestler that retired, came back, and he stayed on the back burner. He deleted his Facebook because he got tired of seeing everyone that's still wrestling and having fun and doing the thing he couldn't do. But secretly he could do that, and he had a podcast at the time with his tag partner, Ethan Page, and after one of the recordings, he mentioned to Page, who runs Alpha One Wrestling out of Hamilton, by the way, I could totally wrestle if I want to. And instead of Paige being mad about, like, we did the retirement show, he's like, cool, you're returning in 3 weeks. And Josh really had no say into it. And it started this virus thing he did in A1 that was super different from anything he'd ever done before. And I got a chance to be literally in the driver's seat or the passenger seat, going to shows with him and going to seminars and just learning from him on the road. And it's just like, I feel so beneficial that I wouldn't be the wrestler I am today without those talks, and I definitely wouldn't be the human without the example of a good husband and father in like the car rides and how he talks about them glowingly. Like, he did retire, but he fucking came back, and not because he wanted to, because his best friend and tag partner gave him that, and it was awesome that they got the chance to do their shit at Impact.
Now I really want to hear Josh do Terry Funk's Forever speech.
a part of the story that he may have retired and came back was the film quality of his retirement match was just like not the best cameras. So there isn't even a good video of that match. That was the half joke. Like, he came back so he could record a better one.
That's amazing. So I don't know if you've been in talks with him a lot in the last, let's say, 4 or 5 months, but I got to ask, knowing someone who knows Josh on a personal level, has sat in the car with him, has talked to him on more than just a wrestling level, you can answer this question probably just as good as anybody else. I got to know, with all the success in Impact, with really reigniting, single-handedly reigniting the X Division, to going on to facing Christian Cage in one of his biggest matches ever. What do you think? How do you think he held himself during this? Do you think he's just this, like, is he being humble? Is saying, okay, this is cool. I do what they tell me. Does he truly think I deserve this? I'm glad this is mine because I should. How is Josh handling himself through this success?
I think because he has had neck scares, that he gets to take everything to be grateful for anything that happens because it all got taken away from him. And then the other side of it is he's been open about like his mental health issues and body dysmorphia and stuff. So like that, just the way that you quoted of him saying like, I deserve this, damn right. I think if it's Josh Alexander bell-to-bell wrestler, he understands why he has this. But Josh Alexander, the man, is still, in his own words, the little fat kid watching the TNA weekly pay-per-views in his mind, that he's just, how the fuck did I get here? But luckily, and this is something that people don't understand about like any art form, like even from podcasting, of this is the escape from that shitty job that like other people won't leave even though you're closed or you want to go home or little stuff like that, that we get that benefit from bell to bell and being able to perform. And like I feel like that's something that during the pandemic, I hope a lot of wrestlers realize we need the fans. We don't just need the oohs and ahs and self-congratulatories. It's like, no, we need them because we feed off that energy of creating that art form. And I hope fans realized how much they rely on wrestling, and for the better or worse of, if you rely on this, use that energy for fucking good, because if this is your escape and this is your fandom and this is something you love, don't dwell on so much of the bad. There's way too much good out there to watch bad wrestling.
And I think you guys in Barrie Wrestling really proved that this year. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Barrie, the All Ontario Cup was fun. It was a lot of fun, but it fades in comparison to anything with fans in the audience.
Yep,
it's different. It's hard. It's not hard to watch. I watched every match. I enjoyed it. I truly did. But
all those matches were harder than any normal matches.
I'm sure, because you, like, as a performer, and I can't speak as a wrestler, I've never wrestled a day in my life, but I have performed in other aspects of my life. I know what it's like to try to do stand-up comedy. Whether you're in front of 30 people, I'd rather be in front of 10 people than in front of a camera with one guy behind. It's harder. You're playing to somebody. I can't play to a camera. It's too hard. And it's got to be the same for wrestling for you guys, right?
100%, especially the way I wrestle. I'm very much a reactionary wrestler, so I need them to react of like, when I hit something, was it as vicious as I hope it was? And then also, if I hear them, I'm going to respect that enough to show life and not be just dead during it, where it's, especially my style is very aggressive. I had a match against Shane Saber in that tournament, and we beat the fucking shit out of each other. And it was just like, I felt like I got hit by a bus the next day.
One of the hardest hitting matches I've personally seen of Shane. Speaking of hard hitting matches, I did jump on a little late. Did you beat me to it, Tyler? Did you thank Holden for having our back against that bully Corey Stone on the weekend?
I'll tell you, Corey Stone's going to be hearing from my attorney, Clarence Mason. he unprovokingly attacked me. My neck is sore. Sean Gibson will be hearing from me for sure. I heard you got a little bit of a moral victory. I saw your Instagram or maybe it was Facebook post laughing that you finally got Sean to let the hardcore stuff happen in the ring with the thumbtacks and whatever.
Nah, I was just told no blood, and I don't know what happened, and I didn't feel it myself, but I saw a photo that my elbow was bleeding, and then watching the match back, I do see a little bit of blood on my elbow, but I never saw any else of it, so I'm very confused. But like, I've I've done hardcore stuff in Barrie before. Other people have done hardcore stuff. The best hardcore stuff was me, Puff, and Ricky in downtown Barrie that went for goddamn near an hour. And
I saw most of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a wild time. There's a callback to something someone did while drunk the night before, and I didn't even realize it was a callback, but I guess it was in like the front of my mind when I did it, and I realized while doing a sharpshooter to Ricky in the middle of the street, and this street wasn't closed. The lights were about like 500 feet away from us, and this wasn't a closed street. I was just like, what are they going to do, run us over? And while giving that sharpshooter, I realized outside of Oh Canada, I forgot the rest of the national anthem.
Oh.
And I'm just talking shit to Brad Myers the whole time. But no, like Mark Wheeler's bled way more in that building than I have.
Well, going to the back to the table spot there, I'll tell you, we didn't get a chance to talk to you before because we run a little bit behind, but I was nervous about the table because I picked it up. First of all, you can't find those wooden tables anywhere anymore. I had we've got it probably maybe 5 o'clock the night before. We found it on Facebook Marketplace. And I didn't get to see it until probably 2 o'clock in the morning when I got off work. I picked it up at my brother's house. And I remember I touched this thing and I called Mike right away. I was like, oh, fuck, man, this thing's real thick. I think we fucked up. Like, I don't know what to do. I showed it to Sean at the show and he's like, oh, just wait. Holden will know what to do with it. He's done this in the past before.
Verbatim. In the goddamn ring.
Mike and I have no fucking, like, we're shitting our pants going. And we got our buddy Wilson who, we got the saw there. Like, are we going to gimmick this thing? I think we got to kind of gimmick it a little bit. Like, what do we fucking do?
Dude, imagine if Corey grabbed that and it broke.
Oh yeah, we were, and then Corey comes over and we're like, well, what do you think of this thing? He's like, oh yeah, it's cool. Holden will take care of it. It's cool. He's like, yeah, we're using it for the finish too. I'm like, oh, it's only a 4-month program. Don't worry, we got this under control. I think in the video,
I'm thinking I got this all taken care of because I personally like we took the metal frame off. Like, as long as we get that metal frame off, they're okay. Not thinking for 1 second. Now Corey's got nothing to grab onto. So you can see him in the video struggling. So thank God he's wearing those gloves to grip the fucking table. Or else he would have had to drag it over.
The gloves fucked him up. It
slick now, right?
In the match too, because I just posted the video on Twitter. He tries to hit me with the chain, and I got confused because I just saw the chain fly across, and it broke fucking Brad Myers' toe.
God.
He doesn't want to admit that because I just hear Brad go, that was my toe. And I was like, I told Corey in the back, make sure these weapons don't hit the fans. Like, I'll take any weapon to make sure it doesn't go into the crowd. I see the chain. And then afterwards, I was like, why'd you throw the chain? Why didn't you use it? He's like, I tried to, and it slipped out of my hand because of the gloves. So I think him having those goddamn gloves also prevented him on the table.
Oh, fuck. That's funny. And poor Brad, he broke his table, and then later that night he died. So fuck, what a trooper!
Rough night at the office here.
I think my hardcore match caused less damage to that Barrie ring than Puff and Ricky's hardcore match.
That was out of control. I told Puff after the match, I said, man, I've been watching wrestling for over 30 years. I said, that's one of the goddamn most entertaining things I've ever seen in my entire life. That was amazing.
Especially being there live to experience.
Yeah. I don't think any footage will do that justice. I took a video during the finish there when they were singing with Mariah Carey, and you got fucking Turbo Man coming out, man. It was unreal. I was losing my mind.
Okay, no one's gonna bring up the fact that we wrestle in a church and they fucking dressed up someone.
Yeah, thank you.
And here's the thing. He was wearing thorns. He had a fucking thing of thorns around, and I was like, I think the thorns are too much. Like, I'm non-religious now, but like I feel like, and I took a photo of it. Like, there's a moment that like Evan damned his soul to hell, possibly.
And then he took a stunner.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That was a great show. I want to bring it back to Josh for a minute here. I love the sidebars that we get on. Coming to the end of the year last year with Josh, he's in this big tag team with Ethan. They've got this amazing tag team run, longest in Impact history, 380 days. Ethan's leaving the company. Were you surprised that they gave Josh the chance to shine on his own? Because like we all know that he could do it if he got the chance. But so many times in these companies, people kind of just get lost in the shuffle, the good workers. And, especially with Josh, it's just a pure wrestler. He didn't really have that flashy gimmick, like you said. Were you surprised that they gave him the chance to show the world what he could do?
Well, I think because ROH shined in their pure division during the pandemic. WWE, on the other hand, Roman Reigns wasn't doing like technical showcases, but he was talking to the camera more and the more professional wrestling side of being a professional wrestler. And Josh has a combination of the two, and there's something that Josh does that he's very open about, and you'll hear him talk about, that if someone needed an explosion match or whatever, he was always a dude that's, let me wrestle 7 times on this taping. Let me wrestle, let me wrestle, let me wrestle. Because luckily in the WWE you can't really control that, and if like you're too eager to be on the main event, like they will see you as a main event guy but not like a top guy, like WWE superstars kind of main event. Whereas in Impact it's just, here's a bunch of opportunities to wrestle, and the only thing that sucks is you're going to be wrestling a shit ton of time in 7 hours. And he took all those chances, and Josh, like I said earlier, bell to bell, Josh Alexander is the most confident man in the world. It's outside that bell to bell that he deals with anxiety issues and whatever. So of course you want to be in that ring as much as possible, and because him taking all those opportunities, it paid off. Them doing the Iron Man match, that luckily that before the Impact show didn't exist a year prior, so they had that hour long anyways. That's like, okay, no one else is going to do it, let me do it. And we saw it with Matt Cardona and Nick Gage of going to deathmatch stuff. That it's just, once you put yourself out there, it will get you rewards. The only thing that sucks is that, it didn't happen in 2 months, it didn't happen in 2 weeks, it happened in 2 or 5 years, and it's just playing that long game of patience and not getting bitter.
The thing I love the most about his run this year in Impact Wrestling, though, is the way that it just kind of kept building. It was kind of like how Goldberg kind of just built from out of nowhere. Nobody saw it coming. You know what I mean? Like just constant good matches. He won the X Division title. And I think he really brought a lot of credibility back to that title too. Those matches with TJP and Ace Austin, it was reminding me back to like the AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels run with that belt. Like they were just hitting home runs every week.
And I think another guy we need to kind of give credit, not to take any credit from Josh away at all, but I think we have Scott D'Amore to thank for a lot of stuff too. I think Scott sees just as much in Josh as we do as fans. I was there. Sorry, I wasn't there. I was watching live on pay-per-view the night of Destiny where Scott went and offered Josh his contract, and you could tell in Scott's eyes he knew he had something here. Josh is going to mean big things for this company, and you're talking about this run, Tyler. You're talking about how it was this great build, and I think Scott has a lot to do with that.
Well, Scott's definitely, like, he has stories of Josh going across the border in 2011, 2012. Like, Scott D'Amore has been a TNA guy since their OG days.
Exactly.
An Ontario guy first and foremost. So
Yeah.
There's all these small guys that he's seen them come up and rise, and he's also seen them come and go. And there's one thing that people like underappreciate in wrestling. Shit just happens. A lot of stuff isn't planned. Matt Cardona always says you control your look and your gear and stuff like that, that you just need to always be prepared and ready. We knew Josh was going to have bangers of matches because he'd been doing this for over 16 years. So given that opportunity in the ring, he's going to blast it out of the water. That's sweet. But it's just when you don't fuck with someone every Monday night or Friday night that they actually gain a reputation and notoriety. And, here's a ball, but there needs to be those people that pass the ball to the guy that's going to score. And luckily, like a lot of stuff in wrestling, you knew what the main event for WrestleMania was going to be in July, but you're not plotting out, okay, this week on Superstars, and then next month at Saturday Night's main event. It's like, okay, we're going to be here at Survivor Series, we're going to be here at the Royal Rumble, we're going to be here at WrestleMania. And you need to figure out all those other small little things that, as long as nothing gets fucked up and you don't self-sabotage, shit will naturally grow, and the fans would feel that, and it doesn't feel forced down their throats, and then you feel like you are a part of the movement. And it wasn't just Kate being it. It's like, no, the main event wasn't supposed to have Daniel Bryan in it. We put him there, and it's stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff that wrestling is the best art form for bringing up stand-up comedy without fans. That's a big thing too. But like the TV show you watch on television, that's scripted out for at least they're filming half that season. So if the fans don't like it, they're going to bitch and moan, and hopefully they can change the back half of it. A movie, you buy your ticket, you get the same 90 minutes, 3 hours, no matter what your time slot is. In wrestling, a fan could decide, I don't like this good guy, so now the bad guy's the good guy. Or someone could get injured, and that match can't happen now, and that champion is now on the shelf for 9 months, and you can't hold that belt. So wrestling is the most weird, organic art form that it's always interesting, and it's so easy to screw it up because of self-sabotage that when it's done well and it doesn't fuck people up and it elevates people, it's like, oh shit, this is really fun.
You know, they were teasing. We talked about it a little bit earlier about the wrestling worlds coming together, and you know, they had Kenny Omega as the Impact World Champion for a while, which I thought was awesome. And they were teasing him and Josh, you know, kind of doing something. If you're watching the product, you know, taking as a fan perspective here, do you think that Impact kind of, or I don't know, I guess the politics that would be involved with that, but do you think that they dropped the ball by not pulling the trigger with Josh and Kenny at Bound for Glory and maybe making a bona fide superstar, putting Josh over Kenny?
Well, especially like Josh versus Christian was a banger of a match. And the storyline that was going on AEW, at least, of does Rampage mean as much as it does without that title change randomly happening? Does that title change not add intrigue to the Christian versus Kenny match? And there was so much more that I like the fact that in real life, stuff just happens. So if your champion's been this and you think you're going this way, you're the number one contender. Oh, wait a minute, the champion's different because of this. Okay, well, I'm still the number one contender, and it's one of those things, and now we know Kenny's finally taken some time off, that he's apparently needed time off for like 6 months. That match would be all right, but also when that match does happen, because there's no way that, especially in this current wrestling climate, that the best wrestlers in the world won't eventually wrestle each other. Will that match be even better when Josh's stock is even higher? He has more to prove, and Kenny is...
It's a very good point.
So it's, I want it now, but it's that patience thing of, but we're going to get it eventually.
Oh, we got to see two of the best Canadians go at it on the biggest pay-per-view Impact puts on. So a little bit of country pride there as well, right?
Well, even like straight up as a fan of wrestling, I'm like, holy shit, Christian versus Josh is going to be a good match. As a fan of wrestling and a friend of Josh, I'm just like, dude, it's so cool that my friend gets to wrestle Christian on pay-per-view.
Have you talked to him about the match at all? Did he give you any little...
I did a seminar with him actually about 2 weeks after that match, and it was Josh is a freak for the fact that there's bell to bell. He's not gonna put any additional pressure on himself, but it's just cool experiences. This is going a little deeper of, I learned the business side of the wrestling business from Josh, so him mentioning, oh yeah, those matches are cool, but then bringing up other elements of it that I'm like, because it's a business at the end of the fucking day, and that's how you don't get taken advantage of.
Fair. I figure though, like, you know, you said when you worked with Josh, you got to learn a lot. Like, Josh has probably got to learn so much just being in there with a guy like Christian as well. And, you know, especially how to carry himself in a main event role. Like, the learning experience is probably what he took away most from that, right?
Well, it's the fact, like, he's been having even the old cliche of, if you know how to main event a small building, you can main event anywhere. What Josh has that not everyone has is, no matter what the show is, he's going to go 110% on it. So if it's like, well, this match means more to me than the other one, it's like, no, his explosion match that he may have had 3 weeks earlier with a random person meant just as much as that Christian match. And it's just the fact of, when you're confident enough in your abilities and stuff will come and you're grateful for everything you do get, you can't be living in that one moment, because then you're giving up that next moment and stuff. And luckily he went straight to a feud with Suzuki on Impact Television, which was fucking wild.
Amazing. But, we have to bring that up or Big Ben's going to yell at us.
But that's just like the man behind it that I got to like learn and see from. And it was lead by example, not by what he teaches, and he teaches what he does. So it's very much the same thing of once you go out there, you're not going to live. Because me personally, anytime I get asked who my dream opponent is, I always reply it's the next dude I wrestle, the next female I wrestle, because my dream was to be a wrestler. And without another wrestler in there and a referee and fans, that dream isn't happening. So I have guys I want to wrestle. I think I hope I can have a match with Samoa Joe one day. I hope I can have a match with Tomohiro Ishii. But anyone else along the way, just because you're not the top guy, doesn't mean I don't want to wrestle you and I don't appreciate wrestling you. And that's something that I got from Josh without him explicitly saying it.
Well, my introduction, and we talked about this on the last time I had you here on the show, Brendan. My introduction to Holden Albright was a match with Josh Alexander. So that is, I mean, you talk about appreciating being in the ring with somebody. That's what I appreciated as a fan. That got, like, without sucking either one of your dicks right now. That match that night, I can't remember the name of the Tanzarian or some shit. Transrac Club. Yeah, that night at that venue, that got me back onto the Ontario Indies. I'd fallen off for a while. I just didn't care enough anymore. I'd fallen off, the Destinies and Alpha and stuff like that. I hadn't been paying attention. And then when we were trying to build Wrestlemania, I said, okay, we got to get back to these shows. Going into that show, there was a few matches that really caught my eye, but you and Josh that night, man, you got me. That my love for the Ontario indie scene came back that night, and it's been back ever since. So
that shows a perfect example. There's fucking 60, 75 people there. It's SummerSlam weekend. It's no one really knows this show's happening on a Thursday night. I just came back from watching Walter and Daniel Garcia at 4 p.m. Like, it was just like a wild thing. There's a fun moment in the pre-show meeting where everyone's like, okay, is anyone doing anything to not do it during the show? And Josh just says, no one do a moonsault. And I looked at him and I said, who's a moonsault? Like, mine or his? And he's like, I don't know yet. And it was just like, okay, I trust you at least. And we never even ended up doing the moonsault in the match. And there's stuff that happened in that match, and that was like maybe the 10th or 11th time I've wrestled Josh, and there's stuff I still learned in that match of crowd reaction, the way we built it up, but it was fucking damn near 25 minutes in front of 70 people, and it didn't feel like we were wrestling in front of 70 people. Yeah. You guys didn't feel like we were shortchanging you guys. It's like, no, I got my whole ticket price plus more, and then he has an intense style that I've by osmosis picked up on, so there's no way that we can't wrestle each other without it being intense.
My favorite part of that evening, hands down, was before they opened the doors for the audience, and Kingdom and Lenny are standing in the ring and they're talking to everybody, and they're breaking down the card, they're going through what everybody's doing that night, and Kingdom, he gets into detail, right? He's pretty much giving away all the matches like on the card. Then he gets to you guys and says, and then well, Josh and Holden, they're gonna beat the shit out of each other. Okay, next. You're the only match you basically threw over because he didn't care what you guys were doing. He knew you were going to put on a hell of a fucking show.
The best part about it was he was reading off the run sheet that was in the back, and everything had, because it was the first union show back, so it was a lot of building blocks, setting up new teams, alliances, whatever. So every match, normally it's just a rundown of this guy versus this guy, this guy versus this guy, this guy versus this guy. It was this match. Here is the story and what I want conveyed by the end of it. This match, what I want at the end of it. Josh Alexander versus Holden Albright. Whatever Josh wants. 20 minutes, question mark?
Yeah.
Like, it was literally paragraph, barely a sentence.
Man, I don't know if there's footage. Tyler, if there's footage of this match out there, I'm going to find it and I'm going to show it to you. This side of Walter himself, I don't think you've ever seen hits this fucking hard. I was sitting at the Wrestlemania table going, I was shivering every time one of them hit each other. And I look at Adam going, do I like this? I don't think I'm supposed to like this. It feels sick to like this, but I liked it.
Well, you guys saw it for the fact of like my matches with Josh have given me confidence that for the hardcore match I had with Corey Stone, I had a banger of a fucking match with a dude that's like 6'4", 300 pounds the night before, who hit me probably harder than Josh because I haven't wrestled Josh since the pandemic. So I made some of the calluses have gone away. So this man has definitely hit me harder than Josh recently. And then for that show, I was teaching a class at 9 a.m. I was at work from 4 to 8 a.m. And then I got to that show and I was already running late. We were supposed to be on after 5 p.m. Got moved up to 2 p.m. I'm just like, we're just going to go out there and beat the shit out of each other. And there is at the beginning, and I think me and Corey Stone are the perfect examples of the different points in our careers. To me, that is super simple to just go out there and whatever happens, happens. To where him, it's a challenge of, oh shit, but what if this goes wrong? A, nothing can go wrong if you have nothing planned. B, the difference is if something goes wrong, fucking don't fester on it to let anyone else know what you tried to do went wrong. And it was like, I welcome failure so much because I can't wait for the lesson I learned from it. So it's just the difference of like running late. I also, it was Von Vertigo's birthday and there's a couple videos that went up from that of like, I would have been there like 45 minutes early, but I was trying to find a cake and like fucking poppers. And it's just like, Von Vertigo's a dude that's, his own worst enemy is his own anxieties. So I'm like, I want to celebrate my friend. Fuck this.
Absolutely.
And then we had our match. I got there just early enough I did remember you pointed the table out to me and I just went, it's not a plastic table. Let's see what happens. Because if it doesn't break, so what? We'll figure out something else.
I'm surprised the fans in the audience didn't catch on, because there's like, you look around the venue and there's plastic table, wooden table with no frame.
Hey, that's the thing though. It's the background of magic too. What you think is like, how does no one notice this? It's because if you don't point it out, it just blends in.
Well, that's kind of when I kind of brought this idea to you and Sean, that was kind of my mind frame. You know, we've been here for 3-4 months in a row now. We're just background, like it's kind of expected to see our banner on the wall and people walk past us and just look at us and keep walking to you guys. And like, I thought it would be a cool opportunity to make something fun for the match and help out.
That's how homeless people sneak into their girlfriend's house.
That's how I'm gonna have to sneak home tonight if I get home any later than what it is.
All right. Well, in order to wrap this up, first of all, I got to thank you, Brendan. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for jumping on whenever you can. We will give you a second in a minute to plug anything you want to plug. But first, I want to plug something. We got to plug the fact that in just a few weeks in January, you'll be facing John Atlas for the Three Pistols Championship at Barrie Wrestling. That's a big one.
Hell yeah. I've focused on just wrestling. Corey Stone sidetracked me a little bit. I'm waiting to see, because I heard down the hallway, I think I heard someone press record and John Atlas pull out the term hardcore bullshit. So I wonder what he was running his mouth trying to say. And he wrestled Tarek, who Tarek's going to beat the shit out of you. No, he's going to hit you very hard. I will beat the shit out of you. That is the difference, that I'm going to hit you hard, but then I'm just going to be like, Mike Tyson knocks people out, but he also bit Evander Holyfield's ear off. So maybe I'm going to try a little bit of this.
This is what I love about the world of Ontario independent wrestling right now. 5 years ago, I would look at indie cards and find a name. Oh, Cody's going to be on this one, or they're bringing Colt Cabana in. Now exactly. I'm looking, and I'm like, oh shit, man. Holden and Corey are going to have a match. I need Where's this going to fight, Big Ben's going to fight Travis Moore. Like, I need to see this. Before we wrap up with you, we talked about Josh a lot here, who we're really proud of. And now Speedball Mike Bailey has been signed with Impact. Who are some people that, maybe for our people listening in the States over there, if anybody is or whatever, for anyone not in Ontario, who are some people that should be have an eye kept on them right now? Who do you think's rising up in the ranks and has that breakout potential?
And why does it rhyme with Schmon Schmerdigo?
So I would put two categories there. that indie band that you fall in love with, even though they're already touring the country, that you're like, oh, I found them before they signed their label. And it's like, yeah, that was like a year beforehand. You weren't there for like the struggling years, but I would, in that category, I put Von Vertigo, Mark Wheeler. Those are two dudes that, Jody Thread, those are guys that you might possibly see at your local promotion in the next 6 months to a year. Or if you type in their names, you're going to see them wrestling at a bunch of places. You put in me, Alexia Nicole, Gabriel Forza, of guys that we're wrestling a lot, and you can type our names in IWTV and enjoy the shows and enjoy the matches, which I'll put over Crossbody Pro Wrestling, their YouTube account. All of us have wrestled there on their main shows, but they have a thing called the Showcase Series, which is a chance for younger people to get reps, people that have been wrestling for 10, 15 plus years to get reps in. And it goes up on YouTube for free within 12 hours of the show finishing. We do the show from 8 to 10 p.m. the night before, and then it's up by noon, sometimes at 3 a.m., and you get to watch these matches. And is every match good? No, but it's raw, and you get to see people improve on it. The Crystal Moons, the Brandon Tidwells, Corey Stone has been there, Travis Moore, but like my two go-to guys that I'm thinking, like Van Landen is like way at the bottom of like the breaking out, because like he's just getting started, both momentum wise and starting wise. It is this weird just two balls rolling at the same time, but like two guys that I hope fucking Ontario gives like so many opportunities to are Clay Wilson and Evan Greenaway.
Clay Wilson was the one I was going to put out there.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, just wait till babyface Clay Wilson. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, really? Eh?
That, and I have the theory that a great heel can be a good babyface at worst, but a great babyface can't be a good heel, because to get people to hate you, you need that emotional intelligence. Yep. So it's way easier to get sympathy than hatred, and when someone hates you enough, it's gonna be easy for them to love you. It's like negging a girlfriend in whatever scummy relationship book.
I mean, Clay's so entertaining that he's eventually just going to turn himself face everywhere. Like, he's so funny, man.
And he's got some good moves. Like, that dude loves wrestling. Evan Greenaway, another dude that loves wrestling, studied wrestling, and you can just see it anytime they tangle up or they're rolling around in the ring. It's like that passion is like, fucking, that's what I feed off of. I had a new rule that after the pandemic, I'm only riding with people in cars. I'm either going to just drive by myself or with younger guys, because there's less bullshit.
I knew I was going to be a fan of Clay's as soon as I saw his Owen Hart zip-up sweater. I was like, okay, this is my guy.
And I'll personally throw in Anton's name here, because he's one of the most entertaining and
Anton's
funniest
gonna be a fucking movie star, though. He's not even gonna be a wrestler. That's the thing. That little bastard's fucking like doing plays and shit. Also, Anton's not a wrestler. He happens to wrestle, but like he's an entity. He's just
he's so funny, man. Holy shit.
That motherfucker's been Blood and Berry also.
So everybody, don't forget, come out next month. I think it's January 15th. Watch Holden Albright hopefully at least compete for, if not win, the Three Pistols championship.
If I don't win the belt, that's because I was dumb and either got myself DQ'd, counted out, or like a time limit draw. But I'm gonna beat the shit out of John Atlas. I can guarantee that.
Brendan, we know you have 972 podcasts to plug. And probably at least 75 indie shows just next month. So go ahead, plug away, buddy.
You can follow me on things at Holden Pro, patreon.com/Brendan C, BRENDONE, the letter C. And if you go to my profiles, I finally got a link tree. So like you can just click that link tree. I don't remember where the dot is, but all my stuff's there. For December, I'm trying to upload a YouTube video a day, and like it ranges from, I did a toy haul unboxing with a micro baller that was a bloody Terry Funk version, actually, because we mentioned Terry Funk a few times. I do these random car talks where I turned 29 a couple weeks ago. I just have random thoughts on life, and it's just, this is what I'm thinking right now. Just get it out there into the world, and and this is Brendan is the podcast, but you can find all those links off of my Twitter.
And if you're wondering, yes, he does have merch.
I'm funding in.
I highly recommend checking out the car talks that you put up too. I love just hearing, you can just feel it's like, this is what's on my mind. I'm gonna put it out there, take it. If not, fuck off, whatever.
Well, especially the one that I did for accountability this month. See how I know that this podcast is coming up at some point. So I'm not gonna say that I recorded it and posted it today. But like, I'm not this holier than thou. We all screw up, and it's all about the difference between screwing up and being an abuser is not having a pattern of effects. So in those car talks, I'm just like thinking like, yeah, this is what's going on. I don't know if it makes sense. And then I'll make some metaphors that might be sexual, might be just random life stuff. It's like, yeah, that's at least how my brain works. Talk to you all soon.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, Mike, why don't you take us home on your number 5 moment here? And your list has been pretty good so far, so we'll carry on to number 4.
And that's only the number 5. Look how many we have left to go. We're off to a hell of a start here. Once again, thank you, Brendan. And that wraps it up for Josh Alexander's rise to greatness and impact. Moving on to our number 4.
Yeah, I know I said this at the beginning with Jimmy Corderas and listening to him talk forever, but I could talk with Holden forever, man. I love talking to that dude. He's so funny.
Too. It's never felt like an interview with Holden, because it's not. We don't interview Holden. Holden just comes on and we talk.
Yeah.
Brendan is just a genuinely interesting, funny, nice dude. And it doesn't matter if we're talking on Zoom, recording for the show, or if we're standing outside his car outside the venue of Barrie Wrestling. Every show we end up talking outside. We'll stand outside in the cold and just shoot the shit. We're meaning to say goodbye. We end up shooting the shit with him for half an hour. He's just so easy to talk to, so easy to talk about. I love everything about Holden Albright. I love everything about Brendan Caulfield. He has an open invitation to be on the show whenever he wants.
Absolutely. And, from like a little bit of a personal standpoint here, I really admire him, man. I look up to him a little bit. Like, I love the positivity that he brings. I love his car talks that he does on his YouTube page. It's very inspiring. He's very uplifting, and he's a hell of a mentor for a lot of people on the Ontario independent scene. And if you guys are looking to get trained,
man, he's only in his early 20s, and very much like us. And he looks up to somebody. He learned a lot from Josh Alexander as a too.
It really came through in that. I enjoyed that a lot. And that's it. That's going to bring us to the end of week 1, part 1 of your best moments of the year, your top stories of the year. Yeah. Big episode. Tune in next week, guys. We got Lenny Leonard going to be here. We got Bronwyn Billington, Wrestling Royalty herself, going to be joining us, and a couple other little things here and there. We got a lot of stuff planned. So you want to take us home there, big guy?
Man, on behalf of half of 2021, we've been counted out.
Cheers.
Hey, Wrestling World, check out my friends at CanadaOut7.com. Wrestling podcasts, news, and a lot of awesome content. Even got all the All-Ontario Cup event setters. Also follow them on Twitter at CountedOut7. Also on Instagram at CountedOut7. CountedOut7.com with Mike and Tyler.